You don't tense up around your family because you're resentful, and you don't feel exhausted afterward because you're holding on to the past. You feel this way because your body remembers a system it once had to survive. You can notice it before anything happens. The shift in your breathing, the way your voice subtly changes, how your thoughts become careful, strategic, restrained. Old versions of you surface automatically, not because you want them to, but because they were once necessary. The one who kept the peace, the one who didn't need much, the one who knew when to stay quiet. And afterward, you wonder why you feel smaller than you were before. You're not imagining this, and you're not weak for reacting this way. In psychology, this response is called family system activation. It happens when your nervous system recognizes emotional patterns learned early, rules about belonging, love, and safety, and adapts to them without conscious choice. Toxic family patterns don't always look dramatic. They're often quiet. They hide behind normalcy. They sound like obligation. They feel like guilt. They operate through expectations that are never stated, but always enforced. You may have learned that closeness required compliance, that love was safest when you were agreeable, that emotional honesty created tension instead of connection. In psychology, these adaptations are known as family roles, such as the caretaker, the mediator, the invisible one, roles that form when authenticity threatens belonging. So you adapted. You learned to manage others' emotions before your own, to anticipate reactions, to minimize yourself just enough to stay connected. Those strategies worked. They kept you included, but they also taught your nervous system something dangerous. That love and self-eraser belong together. That's why distance feels relieving and terrifying. Why boundaries feel necessary and cruel. Why you can want space and still feel like you're doing something wrong. Because part of you still believes that if you stop performing your role, connection will disappear. At some point, you may have reached clarity. You can name the dynamic, explain it, even predict how conversations will unfold. And yet, nothing truly changes. That doesn't mean you're failing. It means insight alone doesn't rewire the nervous system. In psychology, toxic family dynamics persist through conditioned attachment, where emotional safety was offered in exchange for certain behaviors. So even as an adult, asserting yourself can trigger anxiety that feels irrational and overwhelming. Your body isn't reacting to the present moment. It's reacting to memory. This is why boundaries collapse under guilt, why you over-explain, why you feel responsible for other people's disappointment. In psychology, this is linked to fear-based attachment conditioning, where connection depended on compliance rather than authenticity. So when you attempt to change the pattern, your system responds as if you're doing something dangerous, not wrong, dangerous. You might hear thoughts like, I'm being selfish, I'm overreacting, I should just let it go. Those thoughts aren't truth, they're protective reflexes. Your nervous system learned long ago that resistance came with consequences. Distance, withdrawal, disapproval. So even calm self-assertion can feel like betrayal. This is why many people oscillate. They set boundaries, then retreat. They speak up, then apologize. They choose distance, then feel compelled to return. Breaking free doesn't mean confrontation, and it doesn't require cutting people off. It requires something subtler and harder, remaining emotionally present without abandoning yourself. And that demands a deeper shift than awareness. It requires differentiation. In psychology, differentiation is the ability to stay rooted in your identity even when others are uncomfortable with it. Not detachment, not emotional withdrawal, but internal stability. Toxic family systems resist differentiation because they rely on predictability. When one person changes, the entire system destabilizes. So pressure increases, guilt intensifies, old tactics resurface. And this is where most people stop, not because they lack strength, but because the cost feels too high. Breaking free from toxic family patterns doesn't begin with saying more. It begins with doing less. Less explaining, less justifying, less emotional labor. In psychology, this shift is associated with earned autonomy, the moment self-trust replaces approval-seeking. You stop trying to be understood by people who benefit from misunderstanding you, not out of anger, out of clarity. You allow discomfort to exist without rushing to fix it. You tolerate disappointment without absorbing it. You let guilt pass through without obeying it. At first, this feels wrong, cold, detached, unloving. But it's not. It's unfamiliar, because your nervous system is learning something new, that safety doesn't require performance. Grief appears here. You grieve the family you hoped would change, the closeness that never felt safe, the conversations that always ended in silence, dismissal, or control. This grief isn't weakness. It's the final cost of survival strategies you no longer need. In psychology, grief often marks role release, the point where old adaptations lose their purpose and something shifts on the other side. Your body begins to relax, either around your family or around the distance you choose from them. You no longer feel compelled to explain yourself. You stop shrinking to preserve harmony. You stop mistaking guilt for love. Breaking free doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop disappearing. And over time, that choice creates something steadier than approval. It creates peace.